Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and Andrew. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kellie.
Big week for us, Kellie.
Boom, 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 boom.
Is that the E3 theme song?
No, I just, I don't know. I just was feeling very musical in that moment.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
It's E3, so it's okay to be musical.
That's right. It's the Entertainment Expo. The Pseudo-Entertainment Expo.
What's the third E? I mean, I know what the third E is. But
What is the 30?
Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Oh.
Entertainment Expo could be anything. They could make it,
Adult Entertainment Expo.
See, I don't like that both of us went there, which is wrong because that's an A and not even an E, so we're both incorrect.
Well, that is actually probably a thing. I know they have those big, conventions and stuff because I go to all of them.
But you don't know what they're called. Your intelligence precedes you, Kellie.
That's right.
Would you say a boatload is an adequate description of the amount of news we have?
It's a yacht load.
A yacht load.
It's a luxury yacht load of information.
We have a billionaire's boat's worth.
Yeah, it's almost like you could have said yacht, a luxury yacht. You almost could have said that.
Yeah, my brain stopped. I said billionaire and I was going to make some anti-billionaire joke, but then my brain just slammed on the brakes. Full stop right there. No progression happening. But there was a lot. We had 3 big game events, and then also a lot of other news. And we know of a lot of news that's coming down the pipe in the next week. So, and we still have a Nintendo Direct on the way. So, do you want to maybe jump right in?
Yeah. Let's jump right in.
Annoyingly and maybe surprisingly, but not actually annoyingly, it's mostly good. We have a good bit of television and movie. No. Just television news. Just double checked because I'm dumb. Like a Dragon, Yakuza is a television adaptation of this might surprise you. Like a Dragon, Yakuza, and it is hitting Amazon Prime on October 25th. I forgot this was a thing. Kellie, and that's pretty soon. And all they released was a poster, but the poster looks cool. I don't know. For me, it's kind of a weirdly, it's like a photorealistic series already.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to make a film adaptation of TV adaptation, but I guess Last of Us did that too, right?
Yeah. I feel like so much of the game's charm is the fact that it's a game and you do things that are very gamey. So I don't know how well that's going to translate to live action, but who knows?
I'm not necessarily I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like, but
Yes.
Can I do something non-traditional?
Yes.
There's news that I forgot to put in the sheet, and I realize now, and I could just plop it at the end. But we're talking about TV news. So I'll do another story back to back. I know this is a little bit off kilter, so I hope Kellie does not hit me for doing this.
I'm about to.
That's gonna stink. Last of Us Season 2 has the episode count revealed. It is going to be 7 episodes. And the creators hinted that, of course, Part 2 will not be covered in its entirety in Season 2. We all figured that. But they said it could take as much as 3 entire seasons. So it seems now like Seasons 2, 3, and 4 are going to be Last of Us Part 2. And they said that this is because they want to focus on creating more expansive stuff, kind of like what they did with the Bill and Frank episode of Last of Us Season 1.
The Bill and Ted.
I was trying not to say that.
Episode.
But I think this is interesting news. It stinks for viewers because I know how it ends, and they're going to have to wait probably 4 or 5 years to find out how this story ends. That's kind of rough.
That is pretty rough.
So.
That's rough.
It's fine with me because I think that the expanding episodes, like that Bill and Frank episode, were the highlight of the original season for me. So if they're doing more of that, I'm okay with it taking longer.
Yeah. I agree. Though I will say I fear, you know, what Neil Druckmann could be adding of his own volition just because of his particular brand of pretentiousness. But that's okay.
I was going to say, fine. I mean, yes, but also like Craig Mazin and him seem to work well together based on what we saw in season 1. So I'm hopeful that, yeah, well, my thought is maybe there's so many flashbacks in part 2 and that probably wouldn't, maybe it won't suit them to make them that same way. So they'll maybe just kind of have that be how it starts. So it doesn't start at the start of part 2. Maybe there's more build up and more like perhaps introducing you to a certain character before certain things happen, you know, because Abby is a very central part of the story, but the way she's introduced in the game is deliberately like jarring, to say it very, very nicely. So I feel like if they introduce her before, maybe TV audiences would have an easier time grasping the direction the story goes.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Them.
I guess we'll find out.
Craig Mazin.
I guess we'll find out soon. Relatively soon. Hey.
What?
You ever heard of her? You ever heard of a little game called Tomb Raider? Or perhaps the Angelina Jolie movies. Or perhaps the Alicia Vikander movies. Or perhaps... those are actually the only Tomb Raider properties I know.
I was going to say, are there more?
Except now there's going to be more because an animated Tomb Raider series is coming to Netflix. There was a trailer released, just a quick little tease, and it's coming October 10th, and it's fully animated. So that's fun.
I don't care about Tomb Raider, but this is a beautiful trailer, so I am curious.
It reminds me a lot, the animation style reminds me a lot of the Critical Role Amazon Prime series. It almost looks like the same studio.
Maybe it is. I wouldn't even know where to look.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where this could go. You know, animated is, I think, maybe one of the best ways to adapt video game stories into television. So, and also October 10th is not that far off. We knew about this, right?
I don't know.
I think I
can't remember.
Yeah.
Probably, though.
Because it was so far from my brain that I was like, wow, October 10th, that's crazy since I just found out about it. But there are probably people who've been waiting like years and they're like, finally. But other people will be saying finally, including me. Not you, right?
No.
Arcane, the Netflix adaptation of, well, I guess not adaptation, the Netflix side story animated series based on League of Legends, is getting its second season, finally. The first season came out in November of 2021. Second season is coming out in November of this year, 2024. So that's a good old 3-year gap, which is crazy because if you watched that season, it was clear that a second season was on the way. So it is insane that it took 3 years, but I'm very excited to see more. I will have to rewatch season 1 because it's been years and I forget a lot. But I'm glad that we finally get to see more of it. So,
yippee!
Another Netflix animated video game adaptation television show.
Yes, and guess what else is coming to Netflix in an animated format? Well, Minecraft. Not to be confused with the movie with Jack Black, but a new CG animated TV series is coming to Netflix. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the info that we have.
That's crazy to me.
That's just a lot of Minecraft. I don't really get it. I don't understand the desire to create Minecraft like auxiliary content, because
there's a lot of it.
There's just not a ton. The game itself is very straightforward. It's not really like a universe that you can explore. It's just a place that you build things.
So you're not going to be reading the newly released in the West Minecraft manga that comes out soon?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think I'm a little bit not the audience for that.
Well, I have bad news. You probably won't be audience for this television show either.
Yeah, I'm getting that impression.
It's confusing that they're making a movie and this at the same time. That seems like a clash, but I guess they make Sonic animated television shows and they make Sonic the movies, so
Yeah.
you can have both. Also, I'm so jealous of children these days because like Minecraft. Can you imagine like when we were little, we're playing these games? If we're just getting movies and TV adaptations of this thing we love all the time, that's no fair. I didn't get any of that as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had pretty good TV when we were kids, I have to say.
Yeah, but it wasn't based on our video games.
Well, Pokemon was a pretty big deal.
I guess so, but that's one though. That's just one. I also lied. Remember when I said there was only television news? It's because I'm illiterate and can't read. Because there's a Just Cause movie coming from the creator of Blue Beetle. Did you see? I don't. That's DC, right?
Yeah, Blue Beetle was a DC movie. Came out like last year.
Yeah. Well, that director's making a Just Cause movie, which confuses me because isn't the point of that game that it's just kind of silly explosions and flying around with a squirrel suit?
Didn't their studio just shut down too? The Just Cause studio.
Did they? I don't.
Like, not even a week ago.
Avalanche? No, they're okay.
Oh, all right.
Wonder who you're thinking about.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Well,
there's a lot of shutdowns, so it's hard to keep straight.
The truth is, the honest truth is, there are so many games that I just do not understand the adaptation pipeline to, like Minecraft or Just Cause. There are other games that I think make more sense. Like Fallout makes sense because it's a really expansive universe. I don't think The Last of Us makes sense because there's not a ton to expand on, really, realistically. And sometimes I think the retelling of games is just a little bit tired. So I don't really understand this at all.
I think it's safe to say that Minecraft television series will fix your opinion on that.
Yeah, you must be right.
Yeah, I really don't care about this movie, but it does make me like... I feel like we're entering the phase where video game movies are going to start overtaking comic book movies at some point in the pretty near future, which means we're also probably going to get a bunch of weird video game adaptations that nobody's really asking for because they're just going to be picking from the well. And I feel like the well is not as deep as comic books. You know, there's way more comic books than there are video games because video games take a lot more money and work to get public than a comic book.
I think there's also a lot of comic book movie fatigue right now, and I think that studios are probably realizing that. And
I don't think video game movies are going to fix that, though. I think that's just movie fatigue.
But I think if you consider the success of a lot of video game adaptations in the past, like 2 years even, then you can see a studio exec saying, oh, that'll work for us then.
Yeah, I think they're going to hit that fatigue point way quicker, though, than comic book movies ever did.
Yeah. Comic book movies had a lot of longevity, I think, just because people were it was just a different audience back in the day. And I think the audience has changed a lot. And I think that's just why they're not sticking anymore. And there's only so many times you can tell the story of a superhero. I think there are still superhero movies that will pull in a lot. I think Spider-Man is still, the main event, basically, of Marvel now.
I just feel like for Marvel, it was like Iron Man was in 2008, and then Endgame was in 2019, maybe 2019.
Yeah.
So that's like a 10, 11 year stint where they're just dominating the box office, basically nonstop. And video game movies, let's just say, started with Mario. That's 2023. I can't fathom video game movies lasting till 2033 as far as like that level of success. So
yeah, maybe not movies, but
no. And I mean, TV's more interesting anyway for these kinds of stories.
I would agree.
So that's all the TV stuff, though.
Yes, shifting away from the TV and movie stuff, before we get into the summer game event news, we did have a couple news items. The first one being that Little Nightmares 3 has officially been delayed to 2025. They sort of revealed it in a tweet. that the game will not be coming out until 2025. So kind of a bummer. I never played these games. I think they're really interesting to look at, like visually, but they just don't really draw me in that much. But I guess this is not super shocking just because there's been a lot of layoffs and a lot of, drama, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a weirdly Western end because this is published by Bandai, who is distinctly Japanese, but it's developed by Supermassive, who's distinctly not.
Yes.
Which it's still strange that Supermassive is developing this to me.
Yeah.
I like the first two games quite a bit. I'm not that perturbed by this news, though.
Yeah. I'm not. I was just going to use the word perturbed, but I liked the way that you used it.
Well, maybe I'll use it again because I am perturbed.
Oh.
Because PlayStation VR 2 support is coming to PC, and I think that's unacceptable. I think our games should stay locked on single platforms and never change. No, this is great news. The PSVR 2 will be releasing an adapter so that you can use it on PC for $60. That is going to be coming out later this year, August 7th. I think that they're probably trying to clear out some of their warehouses full of unsold PSVR 2, and PC gamers might be the answer. I think it's good because the headset is supposed to be extremely technologically great, but there's such a absolutely restricted library on actual PlayStation 5. So putting it on PC allows it to, play so many more things.
Yeah. I don't have a very strong opinion of this news, but
you're legally forbidden from playing VR, right?
The government outlawed it.
From your face.
From my face is not allowed in any of those goggles, headsets, if you will. In other news, Call of Duty Black Ops, that game that's coming out, with recent U.S. history, like 90s U.S. history, 80s U.S. history. Well, it's going to be available day one on Game Pass. Yippee!
I'm actually pretty surprised by this. I didn't think they were going to do Game Pass because, I don't know. I thought that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think I don't want, I think this game, regardless of anything, was going to make money, regardless of if it's on Game Pass or not, just because of the player base. And this specific series, I think Black Ops actually draws in a lot more people than like the new Modern Warfare does. But that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. And it's launching in October.
Yeah, I'm not. It's funny because it being free doesn't even make me interested because I'm so far removed from the Call of Duty monolith.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like, I'm not, I don't know. I think they really need to do something different to really bring in new people. But like I said, there's just so much, the base for this game is just huge. So
yeah, I think you're right that if they want to bring in new people, they probably have to do something different. But they probably don't want to bring in new people. They're probably like, we know exactly that this base, like we know the exact numbers of the base that will be here. We know exactly how to make the most money off of them. We know exactly how to keep them happy, barring that last entry that made everybody mad. So I don't think they're worried.
Are you talking about Cold War or are you talking about Modern Warfare?
Modern Warfare 3. That came out last year that was very, like by far the most critically panned of a Call of Duty game. Has history been Was that a good sentence?
If I say yes, will it make you not feel bad?
No, because I know it was a bad one. But we should probably jump into the actual summer gaming events now. I'm going to try something a little different for this first one, Kelly. The PlayStation State of Play came out a couple weeks ago, right after our last recording, and that was the first episode, or the first event essentially of this summer game showcase. It was bad. So instead of sitting here going story by story back and forth, I'm just going to speed round through, and then we could talk about what we want to talk about. Is that okay with you, Kelly?
Yeah, let's away.
So they opened their 35-minute show with 15 minutes about a game called Concord, which is PlayStation's new live service, hero shooter 5v5. It's Overwatch. Overwatch, but Guardians of the Galaxy font. It was a very bad showcase. Even if the game looks fine, it was just very corporate and took up way too much time. But we'll come back to that if we want to. God of War Ragnarok is coming to PC. Until Dawn does not have a release date for some reason. Monster Hunter Wilds got a gameplay reveal, which also got another little extension in Jeffy's. I think we can talk about that in a second, maybe. Silent Hill 2 is launching October 8th. Dynasty Warriors is returning. Dynasty Warriors Origins is coming to PlayStation 5 next year. Ballad of Antara, as well as Infinity Nikki, are two games coming from a Chinese studio, both of which appear to be some form of free-to-play game. We know very little information, and the trailers are, how should I say, suspicious. The gameplay looks maybe a little too good to be true, and that studio is called Infold. Where Winds Meet is a new open-world action RPG set in ancient China, and that will be coming out to PlayStation 5 in the future. And then we closed out the show with a good old-fashioned big reveal, that being of Astrobot, a full-fledged video game starring our friend Astrobot.
Yippee!
So, do I have to ask what the highlight of the show is for you? Or is it obvious?
What do you think it is?
Astrobot.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
Sure, yeah, Astrobot.
What was yours going to be?
No, I mean, I'm excited for Until Dawn, the remake.
Oh.
That's kind of cool. And I thought Silent Hill 2 was interesting as well to see. I wouldn't say those were like highlights. I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm dying for these games. But those were the two games that most interested me.
I mean, there was a lot of really bad pacing in the show. And I'm really worried about Silent Hill 2. We got some more gameplay in like an extended format, and it looks like it could be good. But it's frustrating to me because it looks like it could be quite good, but quite good seems to be the absolute best case scenario. Like, it doesn't look like there's this scenario where this game's going to be like perfect, because there are a lot of cracks showing. But hopefully, I feel like the fundamentals hold it together just fine.
Yeah, I feel like this game was never going to be perfect anyway, because not only is it a remake, but it's also a remake by a different team, by Bloober Team. I thought it was interesting.
I feel like that's a consequence of poor decision making, because there is another Konami remake we'll be talking about later that I do think looks perfect, and I think that approach could have been taken.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like, reading about, like, oh, people wanted things to change, like, they wanted things different, and Bloober Team was like, no, we want things to be the same as they were in the original, but it's like you see some, like, key things, and they're very different. Like, character designs being so radically different is interesting. I don't know. It's not that important, really. I guess we'll just see when the game comes out. I don't have a horse in this race, because I am tempering my expectations for it anyway, because like I said, Bloober Team is not, I don't have a ton of faith in them anyway. I don't know. I don't know. But, Until Dawn, even though it might be the least necessary remake of all time, I'm still excited to play it again.
I'm like a little bit indifferent, because I think that the way that the original looked is kind of part of the charm. If that makes sense. Like, some of the uncanniness is sort of like part of the fun. And I feel like because it's getting closer to realism, it's almost more uncanny now. But I also will reserve judgment for when I actually see it in motion and real gameplay. And I'm also very confused by the lack of a date, because it's 2024.
Yeah. I think what really, and maybe we can talk about this a little bit later, but like with hyperrealism in games, it really ages the game very quickly. Yes. So if the game came out in 2016 or 17, like Until Dawn did, I can't remember if it was 16 or 17. I think it was 16. But if it
15.
Oh, you're probably right. But if it came out but they did try. I mean, it was motion captured, so they tried to make it, it was like a movie. Everybody looks like real people, blah, blah, blah. But now you play that version of the game and you're like, okay, this doesn't look bad, but it definitely looks like it came out in 2015. Excuse me. I hiccuped.
I heard it.
Feel free to keep that in.
Oh, I will.
But like even now, like with this remake happening, maybe in 10 years they'll be like, this looks really old. Whereas if they had gone with a more stylized approach, the game would have been a little bit more timeless. But that's just like one
You're
of those.
You're thinking about a very specific game we're going to talk about later, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think it's just one of the. Well, we'll talk about it later because I think in hindsight it's not even really that stylized, but we'll talk about it later.
I think Monster Hunter Wilds looks incredibly good. I'm very excited to see more about this game in the coming year. I think that they're probably going to, from the fact that we saw it in this PlayStation show and at the Jeffies, like I think there's a lot of stake going into this release, and it looks really cool in my opinion, and I'm excited to see more. But before we move on, Astrobot looks really cool. I'm really excited for a full-length Astrobot game. I think that a fun 3D platformer is something we don't get often, and having a fully fledged, beautiful one from a team that clearly knows what they're doing and has a lot of love for it. Oh, and that's coming out September 6th, so it's not even far away. So not a lot of time to stew over it, but I do recommend watching the trailer if you didn't already. It's full of cute little PlayStation Easter eggs, so I'm very excited to play that in September. But that was the PlayStation State of Play.
Yippee! And then what happened after that was Summer Games Fest. Summer Game Fest.
It's such a bad name.
That's my Mandela effect.
It's always been games.
It's always been games, and we split the universe, and now you're trying to convince me that it was game. This happened on Friday, June 7th. Me and Andrew and friend of the show, Cameron, watched this one together. And it was an okay show. It kind of did the Jeff thing where it started off pretty strong, and then it was sort of like, what are we doing towards the end? But we'll talk about it. The first game that they opened with, which was very interesting, was Lego Horizon, which is as it sounds, a Lego Horizon game, and that is coming this fall or holiday. To PlayStation 5, PC, and the Nintendo Switch. So, Horizon Adventures is what it's called. And it'll be on the Epic Games Store, if you even care.
If you even care.
I was very confused at this trailer because it started off with a hot dog man. And then we were with Alloy. And then it was Legos. I mean, there's only so much you can say about a Lego video game. It's a Lego video game, but
I mean, it looks like a good Lego video game, but like I don't care. I just think it's so strange to make. It's never been done before. We're making a Lego video game based on a video game. Like it's not like, oh, we're taking a property like a movie and turning it into Lego Harry Potter or Lego Pirates of the Caribbean or something. It's Lego Horizon. Like I can just play Horizon or build Lego things.
Yeah.
It's weird to me. And also, I personally, when the platforms came up at the end of the trailer and it said PS5, PC, and Switch, I was like, I screamed. I was like, why is it on Switch? That's weird. Like, it's really weird to me that a PlayStation Studios game is coming out on PlayStation 5, PC, not PS4, and Switch.
Yeah. The not PS4, but the Switch is really interesting.
Right, because like it's probably not going to be that demanding. It's a Lego game. Like I'm sure it's extremely scalable. Yeah. So if it can run on Switch, why is it not on PS4? Why is it on Switch?
Why is this game happening?
Why
is this a money laundering front? What's the over/under on that? I'm joking. That's not real. That's not a real accusation. I'm just joking.
It was a really weird start to the show.
It was very weird.
I didn't even like. I was entirely unsure what this show was going to contain, and then it started with this, and I was like, okay, so I have no idea what you're about to do for the entire show.
Yeah.
But we did see more gameplay, or I should say the first gameplay of a game that was revealed multiple Game Awards ago, and that is Slitterhead. This is from Bokeh Studio, who is headed up by one of the original creators of Silent Hill. how would you just? I mean, it's third-person action game. It seems that it seems to me that the primary mechanic is body swapping. So you like
Yes.
So it starts. The gameplay started with a guy jumping off a building, and then on his way down, it like switches to a body swap view, and you switch your soul into somebody on the ground. And I was like, "That's incredible! That's such a cool idea." And then it showed some some combat, and it looks. How do I say this, Kelly?
Yes.
You say it, so I don't have to say it.
It looks
It looks bad. It does not look great.
Very janky. It looks like I'm not even sure what the like. It just looks old. It looks like PS3. I don't know. It just doesn't look smooth.
Right, which is a shame because like the world design and like the creature design and that gameplay concept of body swapping is really cool, and it seems like it's going to be really interesting. But if the combat is as central as this trailer kind of implies, I'm worried for the game's overall quality. But maybe it won't be. Maybe that's just kind of, this was like a big, fun summer trailer, and they wanted to go all in.
I feel that combat in a game like this does not need to be, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's like, it should be like Dead Space where you're like afraid all the time and like things are disgusting and scary and you can barely survive. Not like, oh, I have a machine gun made out of blood, by the way. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but what is this game trying to accomplish?
Well, we'll find out soon because it's out on November 8th, which...
Yippee! Oh, you got to vote. You got to vote, and then you can go play Slitterhead.
Is Slitterhead coming out on Election Day?
Isn't November 8th always Election Day?
No, it's always the second Tuesday in November.
It was November 8th in 2020.
Yeah, so. Election Day is November 5th. So
okay, well,
vote,
if you guys
and then 3 days later, play Slitterhead.
My new thing is if I'm wrong about something or if I get shot down, I just say, well, if you guys want to kill me, that's okay. It's actually not really that funny like when I explain it. Anyway.
It was funny till you explained it.
We also got a kind of a cool teaser trailer for the next Sid Meier's Civ game, Civ 7. It's just a little teaser, pretty standard fare for a Civ teaser, just a lot of like world civilizations. I guess I didn't need to say that.
As opposed to the other ones.
As opposed to the other ones. There was like a Civ space expansion many, many moons ago. But I don't. Moons, get it? We didn't get a release date, but we got a window that is coming out in 2025. There's also going to be a gameplay showcase in August, if anybody's interested. And if you can believe it or not, you can wishlist it now.
I can't believe it.
Well,
this was also that 2K, because we were told that there was going to be a new 2K game in an established franchise revealed. It was not Borderlands 4. It was indeed Civ 7.
Yeah.
Which I'm not invested in either of those series, so I didn't care which one it was, but I'm sure certain people this is good news and certain people it's bad.
Someone I love in this household really likes Civ, so this was good news. And it's my cat, Cookie.
Okay, I was going to ask if it was Cookie. Well, if you love your cat, maybe you shouldn't play new Devolver Digital release, Neva. This is from the creators of Grease.
Is it Neva or Neva?
Neva, I think.
Oh, okay.
I thought they said Neva in like the live talking parts.
Got it.
It is a new side-scrolling, beautiful narrative adventure game from the creators of Grease. You have a dog friend, dog, wolf, deer, little guy. It looks like he grows with you as you go through your adventure. It is stylistically incredible, and I think we all were watching it with dread, just knowing that at some point things will probably go bad, and it's going to be really hard because the little companion is unbelievably adorable, and I'm really excited to play this game when it comes out this year. So we have a window.
Yes. And if I cry, I cry. We cry together. Right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm probably gonna play it, so I'll be the one who's crying.
Well, I'll cry too, because I'll play it.
You're gonna play Neva?
Sure. Yeah. To cry.
It seems like you'd be too scared to play it.
No, I'll play it. I watch Marley and Me, so I can really do anything.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
The way you said that was so fake? It was almost like
it was fake. Because
Oh,
I
wow. That's interesting.
feel like maybe you'll still cry.
Well, I'll definitely cry, but I can play it. Anyway, we got another teaser for something maybe none of us expected. Got a fun little cameo from Detroit native and skateboarder and comedian Tim Robinson, who I have nothing to say about. And this was for Skate, the new Skate, the Skate that is not out yet, but you can play test it this fall.
So I found something out while prepping.
Okay.
Did you know this game has been like out on PC for a long time? The playtest.
Skate?
The new Skate has been in active playtest on PC for a while.
I did not know that.
I thought we didn't even know this game existed, but this game has been in playtest, active playtest already. So
I guess that makes sense because you're playing with different versions of the game. You're playing with the PC version and the console version. They're,
right. This announcement
different.
was essentially for the console version's playtest, which
right.
It is news, but I thought the existence of this Skate game was news. It's not. I didn't.
The way
know
it
that.
was presented seemed like new news.
Yes. Oh, it's Skate, and I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy. I know people have been wanting that new game, and then if somebody who was more informed could have been like, no, we have it. Just console players can't touch it yet, which is good.
None of us are informed.
Oh no! If we are informed, that would ruin this podcast. We got a couple weird little announcements through the show, not for specific games necessarily, but for new publishing labels, which sounds like a bad. It's been a bad thing in the past because I feel like when Jeff has done this, it's been like very corporate chilly. But this one was really interesting. So Bloomhouse Games is going to be a new publisher that is focused on publishing small independent horror games. Bloomhouse Games, of course, related to Blumhouse, the movie maker. When I heard that they were going to be presenting, I was a little worried because Blumhouse movies are pretty well known for like putting in as little money as possible to get as much money out as possible. And I was like, that sounds like a bad way to make video games. But it actually seems like this is going to be a studio that focuses on, or a publisher that focuses on funding smaller independent horror stuff. And the initial batch of games include Fear the Spotlight, Chryssal, Theater of Idols, Grave Seasons, Sleep Awake, and Project C, and The Simulation. I missed one. If you're interested in these, they all look interesting to me, some more than others. I do think it's a really good idea to have another publisher hitting the scene to help out indies because they could use all that they can get. And obviously the Blumhouse name is huge, so getting that behind your game probably helps a lot with, keeping eyes on your game.
Yes. I'm very excited for Grave Seasons. That is like the perfect marriage of things that I love, which is like cozy simulators and horror, spooky, scary, murder.
Oh no, not murder.
Murder. So I'm excited about that one. I think this was relatively good news. I understand the wariness, but yeah.
I mean, I feel like my wariness wore off after I saw it, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
once I realized what they were doing and also, like, hearing them talk about it, I was like, oh, this is authentic. Like, they're not just here to make money. I mean, that's obviously a goal, but it seems like there's a lot of artistic love behind it as well.
Right. And sort of in the same vein, Inner Sloth, who are the creators of Among Us, came on stage to talk a little bit about their new branch, I guess you would call it, called Outer Sloth, which is basically going to be like an indie publisher branch of Inner Sloth. So they also showed a little teaser trailer, I guess you could call it, for the Among Us show. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Nothing super crazy from them. You didn't even hear any voices from the Among Us show. It was just some like animated scenes, a la what did we say? Oh yeah, Homestar Runner. So
That's what you said. I don't know what that means.
Yes. Now now Inner Sloth is very specific that they don't want to they just want to fund these games. They don't want to be like fingers in the pie, so to speak. So I think that's a good thing. It's pretty cool. It's a nice way to leverage the success of Among Us, as we know, which was, crazy success out of nowhere, like 2 years after the game launched. So it's pretty cool.
You know who I hope does the same thing with their enormous success?
Who?
Larian.
I don't think Larian will do that. I'm going to be honest. I think Larian is in a weird spot right now. I think they're really going to be trying to not closing the doors necessarily, but like
I know they're
focus
probably going
mode.
super indie for the next game would be my assumption.
Yeah.
But
small scale. Way, way small scale. But who knows? Maybe they want to do something even bigger.
Right. I guess
Baldur's
in my
Gate.
brain, scale is not so much the consideration as who's involved. I would imagine they want just
Oh, yeah,
themselves.
just Larian.
Right.
Yeah.
They
No
don't
more
wanna
Wizards
hold
of the
hands with
Coast.
anybody. So I guess
Or
it was
Hasbro, really.
I just feel like Larian has such a good vision that they could do some really cool things
Yeah.
with their newfound cash and esteem. But
Yes.
that was the Jeffies. What did you think of the Jeffies overall, Kelly?
I thought they were okay. I think that it's really hard with any Jeff show is so bloated, and especially in comparison to some other shows that that come later down the line, like the one that we're about to talk about, which is a little bit less bloated in my opinion, just in a sense
Yeah.
that like, why do we have to like stand around for 5 minutes talking about stuff that doesn't matter? Let's just show trailers for games, and if we want to talk to the developers, we can, and if it doesn't have to be like, I don't know. Do we have to talk? Do we have to bring all these celebrities? I mean, that's more of a Game Awards thing, is the celebrities, but it's like, I didn't think the show was bad necessarily. I do think it sort of petered out towards the end, which his shows always tend to do. But and I thought the one last thing. There wasn't even really one last thing, was there?
I mean, there's Phantom Blade Zero, which I didn't include because
it was cool. I didn't think it was like
I
the
don't know
best
what to
thing
say.
ever. Yeah.
no, it would be sick if I knew that was pure gameplay. But if you watch it, it's very clear that it's like that trailer specifically is scripted to the point of like, okay, this is not a person playing this, or if it is, it's like, scripted camera angle, scripted enemy movements, scripted this, that. So I'm more curious. That one, I feel like we'll circle back around to it once people are playing it and actually allowed to talk about it, because there's a gameplay demo apparently going all around the world. I mean, by that I mean to like major events, not to just everybody's household. But I'd be curious to see what people are saying once they've actually gotten their hands on it. As with like a lot of the games, I feel like that's the trend. Okay, so I didn't think it was necessarily the worst show. It was kind of hard to tell because I was watching it in person with you and Cameron. So I had fun, but also like that show was boring. It was incredibly bloated. I know they're always there, but the commercials feel so like gross because I'm like, this is a commercial. It is now public how much people pay. It is literally like $500,000 for a 2.5 minute trailer spot. I'm like, you don't need commercials. Just use the trailers, dude.
Yeah.
And there's just so much around it that I didn't really appreciate. And also like there were like no announcement. There were a couple like small things, but there were no big announcements. It was just updates on things, which isn't necessarily bad, but that's also a trend. The PlayStation thing, the only announcement really was Astrobot. And then for the next show we'll talk about, there weren't really a lot of announcements. It was just updates. And I feel like it's just the consequence of the industry and their current state. But also like if this was half its length, it would have been more entertaining. And the biggest trend for me, and this is half me being overly what's the word? Not facetious, but when I'm being like negative.
Cynical?
Yeah. Me being overly cynical. And also, I think the nature of the trailers this year is that a lot of the things we watched, I said, looks good, but is this actually gameplay? And I think that was just the trend that like a lot of the stuff we saw, I don't trust that that's what the game looks like. And it's because some of the scripted stuff is becoming very obvious to see. Like that Phantom Blade Zero trailer that they showed at the end of the Jeffies. It's obvious to me that some of that is scripted. The game might be great. if the game is like half as good as that makes it look, it's still going to be a good game. It's just when I see these trailers, I wish it looked like somebody was playing it, you know? Like when I watch a FromSoft trailer or a Capcom trailer, it's clear to me that there's a person with their hand on the controller versus just typing in a list of commands for your player to do. It's different. But perhaps we should move on to the next big show, the one that happened Sunday of this last week. I guess that's this week, technically. That is the Xbox Summer Showcase. Kelly hated the show because there's one game in it that she hates.
Right.
A lot.
Right.
But we'll talk first about big new announcement. Ironic because I just said there were like no announcements, but big new announcement, and that is the new Doom game. From id Software comes Doom: The Dark Ages. This is, as you might guess from the title, a medieval-themed Doom game. I think it looks super sick. It's a super interesting concept. Because it's not set in hell, it's a lot different color palette than we're used to from Doom. And also you have a big shield. And I think that specifically gets me excited because mechanically I really like what Doom does with movement and gameplay. So I am very thrilled to see what that'll play like. And we'll find out more about it because it is going to be coming out in 2025 on Xbox, PC, and PS5. Which, little weird, but hey, what do I know?
Yeah.
What'd you think about this one, Kelly?
I thought it was cool. I'm not really a Doom head, but I like Doom Guy, and I think it's cool to go to a different place other than just hell. It's nice to change the setting a little bit, and you're right. I think adding the shield is a cool gameplay thing. I hope that there's an interesting variety of weapons, I guess. I don't really know how Doom works. If you get to change out your weapons and stuff.
Yeah, a whole bunch.
So I hope there's a cool variety of like morning stars and flails and staves and and guns, anachronistic guns.
Well, that was the biggest announcement for you for the entire show, right?
Well, no. Well, yes. Well, no. Yeah, after Doom, there was like an immediate just bump right into the next trailer, which was the very first like real, not teaser, real trailer for the next Dragon Age game, which is Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which the name has been changed from Dreadwolf to better reflect the story, I guess, or maybe to better reflect the actual antagonist. I don't really know. We got the companion reveals, which was pretty cool, and then a fall 2024 confirmation release date.
That's crazy. You know that's crazy, right? I feel like you've said that, you've predicted that so many times that it feels normal. But I was like, oh, you did it, Kelly. You're right.
I think I just have my nose to the ground, sniffing things out. I follow a lot of like, not necessarily leakers, but a lot of insiders. And I think there was just a lot of rumblings that like 2024 is really the golden zone. And I think just based on like what we kind of knew, you know, a summer 2024 marketing push makes a little bit more sense for it to be fall 2024 rather than like spring 2025. But who knows? The game could still get delayed. Let's not even say that.
You were the only one that said that. You made it sound like I'm saying it, but
I know, but I have to hold myself back. I have to tell myself not to do things and to take things back. We will also be getting a 20-minute gameplay video today, as of day of listening. Tomorrow for us recording, but today, in just a few short hours, we'll get to see. We got a little tidbit, about 25 seconds, almost 30 seconds of gameplay already. So we'll get the full 15. There's also been a lot of like tricklings of news in the YouTube premiere chat from Dragon Age, just about your character and what you're going to do and certain things about the game. So the hype is building. I think the trailer itself, it's not my favorite. I think it doesn't. I disagree with a lot of the complaints. It doesn't seem overly quippy to me, especially because if you really play Dragon Age, even the first game was very quippy. I mean, the style of humor employed is not really Marvel writing is Joss Whedon writing, and Joss Whedon writing is Buffy writing, and a lot of the writing in Origins emulates Buffy because there were a bunch of nerds on the writing team. But I'm joking. I'm not joking. I'm serious. There were a bunch of nerds. But the point is it didn't feel overly quippy to me. I didn't love the style of like character introduction, name, freeze frame. That wasn't like my favorite. And I'm not sure.
What hit me. I don't think I thought it was Marvel-esque. I just thought it felt kind of hero shootery, the way they introduced the characters. Like it felt almost like it could have been a free-to-play game if you knew nothing about this series.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, one, you're excited, so like if you had the excitement, I'm like, okay, it's fine. And two, that gameplay segment we saw, which I know was literally like 15 actual seconds, I was like, that's not the game, you know?
Yes.
And I'd like to know your opinion before I state it. The art style is not, and I know we haven't seen actual gameplay, like true gameplay yet. We will tomorrow see it extensively. What do you think of this less photorealistic art style? Because it's still like definitely grounded in some level of realism, but they've softened a lot of edges. Does that bother you? Do you not have an opinion?
It doesn't bother me. I don't think that this is such a radical departure from Inquisition. Every single Dragon Age game has had a radically different style from the last. The characters in 2 look nothing like the characters in 1, and the characters in 3 or Inquisition look nothing like the characters in 2. So it's not shocking that they're going in a new direction, and it's not surprising that the characters are a little bit more stylized rather than hyper realistic, because I think this world is more stylized than it has been in the past entries. We're going to a new place where it's like, so in Dragon Age, historically, magic is a really big point. Certain characters have magic, certain characters don't. You're born with it or you're not, which will probably change in this one. But the point is that magic is sort of not necessarily outlawed, but it's monitored, and it's a huge point of the first 2 games. And the place that we're going to in the Veilguard, that is going to take me a while to get used to. The place that we're going to in the Veilguard is a magic place. It's a place where it's not restricted, it's not illegal, it's not monitored. So obviously the world that we are inhabiting is a lot more magical than it has been in previous entries. So I think it having a more distinct style, like a different flavor almost, it doesn't really bother me. And I'm more, I think I would get a better idea, and I know you agree, of what this game will actually look like when we see the gameplay tomorrow. But it really didn't bother me. It kind of reminded me, the characters in from the trailer looked a little bit like Fable characters. But then I saw like the screenshots that were shared and the little like trailer, not the trailer, the gameplay that they showed today, and they didn't look as stylized to me. So I don't know. I think maybe there was just not necessarily miscommunication, but I think the marketing team was maybe on a different wavelength than the actual like writing team.
In my brain, well, one, I think the art style is a good thing because I think it'll make it more timeless personally. Because when you make it photorealistic, it ages quicker. We talked about that already with Until Dawn. This is what we were teasing when we were talking about art styles. I think this trailer felt like it was made by EA, not by BioWare. Which I still think it looks cool. And I'm excited. I'm very excited to see the gameplay. Obviously not as excited as you. But I think to me, I like almost don't want to judge it from this trailer. Like this trailer was a really cool, exciting way to be like, hey, it's coming. And less a way to be like, here's your game. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think I'm kind of glad that the gameplay trailer is like separate from this week of news. Because we'll probably have to give you like 20 minutes of just like unfettered talking time where I will just turn off my microphone, maybe leave the room, and just let you go for like 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah,
Baking it
yeah,
into this would have been difficult if we had gameplay too, because right now you're talking about it like obviously you have a lot of like text info, but it will be different once you've seen the game for 20 minutes. And also, same thing I said with like other games, there will be previews. People will be
right.
playing this game. You'll get to actually hear some hands-on impressions.
Well, I do think it's interesting. They have like a community guild of people who are very popular and people who have been around the Dragon Age community for a really long time, where they just people who play the game. Nobody, they're not press people or anything. They would like go to BioWare Austin or BioWare Edmonton and they would get to play the game. They got to play the game once in 2022 and once in 2023. So I do think that's interesting. And I don't necessarily distrust their opinions. But, you know, these people are brought on by BioWare. So I don't think that they can't be critical, but right now it's a lot of hype from them. So
Yeah.
I'd be more interested in the press previews and stuff like that. And obviously, you know, all of the marketing that they're going to be doing this summer and what that means. Like, I assume eventually at some point we'll see the character creator, which I'm very excited to see.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe more in-depth looks at our companions, at our 7 companions, who I'm very excited about. They're all so interesting to me. I think that the design, they did such a good job of the design of the companions from what we saw in the trailer. I'm so excited to learn more about them. I really, really like the old man necromancer. And I really like the Kunari. So I am really looking forward to tomorrow and seeing 20 minutes of this game that I've been waiting 10 years for.
And I'm excited to hear you talk about those 20 minutes for 40 minutes next week.
Thank you.
Are you prepared to move on?
Yes, of course.
I also will say this game, the Dragon Age stuff makes me realize that, I mean, all the games are doing this, but Dragon Age especially, I'm like, I realize I'm getting like older and like more particular because I'm less excited for like the showcases than I am for like the impressions from the press afterwards. I'm like, I want to know what they think it feels like to play like. I want them, that was a horrible sentence, but I want to hear their impressions of the gameplay more than anything.
Yeah.
But we got a trailer for a new game from Sandfall Interactive, who is a new studio based out of France, and they revealed their new game. How do you say this with a French accent? Because it looks like Clair Obscur to me, but I'm assuming
Clair Obscur.
Okay, so it's Clair Obscur. Okay. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a new turn-based RPG. It has a semi-realistic, semi-stylized art direction. I don't even know where to start with this game. It looks insane. There's so much going on, and I think we were all surprised when it turned into a turn-based RPG because it looks intense. Like it doesn't look anything like Persona, but there's a clear inspiration from Persona as far as like menu design and user interface and all that stuff. But combined with this like really high fantasy, weird world, it looks incredible. This is one of the absolute highlights for me from the entire summer event docket thus far, and it's coming out next year. What did you think of this trailer?
I thought it was really cool. I thought it was awesome that we saw gameplay.
Yeah, really incredible gameplay.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's you can obviously see the Persona inspiration, but in a way that does feel distinct to this specific game.
Yeah. And there's like action elements integrated as well, which Persona doesn't really do. Like there's like what appears to be like if you use a ranged attack, it looks like you might have to aim it still after you selected. And then there's like timing. If you do a combat or do like a physical attack, you have to time button presses, I presume, to get more damage.
Yeah. Like Final Fantasy 13 too. I'm joking.
I was going to say Paper Mario.
Oh.
Or Super Mario RPG. Games have been doing that like longer than we've been alive, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah. I'm excited. This looks cool. It looks very cool.
So cool that I'm like nervous about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of those
in.
games that gets delayed a lot. But that's just me being a pessimist. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I do think it's interesting that they were showing gameplay and then they were like, "Oh, we'll see you next year." So maybe it won't get delayed because that seems very generous, a very generous timeline.
I also think that this game apparently has been in development since 2021, and like it has been public, but there's like I Googled it the second the studio name came up on screen. I'm like, who's that? And it popped up instantly, and it has been public for years, but like we haven't seen it, so nobody cared. It's also from a French studio, and I feel like video games are starting to maybe be less American. Like there's a less America-focused, how do I say it? There's less of a focus on American video games in the Western market, you know, because obviously Japan has always been a distinct entity, but I feel like most Western games or Western-leaning games tended to come from America or like Canadian studios. A game coming from France, we haven't seen as much. I'm hopeful that maybe that video game world can kind of decentralize a little bit, and we can see a lot more studios from countries that maybe we don't see video games from as much. You know, there's no doubt there are French video games, but more is just a good thing in my head. And also, France has really good labor laws, right?
I don't know. I could not speak to France's labor laws.
I know that they're at least better than ours because of like the retirement stuff. Because the retirement age tried to move by like 2 years, and maybe it was 3 years.
I think France is just better at protesting than we are as Americans. I think we eat our little piggy slop and accept it, and I think France tends to start fires when they don't like something. Yeah. So, if
this game comes out in the state Cyberpunk came out in, the guillotines will be out.
They're bringing them back out.
That's funny. I was really, this was the biggest surprise for me of anything that we've seen so far, and it's one of my most anticipated games now. Like, it's going to be on our end of year list for sure. Spoilers.
After that, we got a gameplay reveal trailer for the South of Midnight game, which was teased back at the Video Game Awards.
No, it was last year's
Game Awards.
It was last year's.
It was
Xbox
last
show.
year's Summer Game Fest.
Well, last year's
Xbox show.
Yeah.
Sorry, they all blend together. I can't keep track of any of them anymore.
Oh, they're all the same.
This was a much more extensive look where we got to see the main character a little bit more, and we got to see gameplay. We heard some cool choral Louisiana musical arrangements. And we got, I think, a cool feature is the main character sort of moves at a comic book-esque frame rate, whereas the world around her is very much in a higher frame rate. So it's got kind of that Miles Morales effect from Spider-Man 2. Miles Morales from Across the Spider-Verse. This was like a 4-minute long trailer. The game didn't look... I mean, I thought it looked cool. I didn't really have expectations for this game because we saw so little of it last year. It was literally just like a teaser. We didn't even really see anything. So the gameplay aspect was really cool. I think the setting is really interesting. I think I actually will play this game because I'm really into this setting. I feel like it's very different. Not a ton of games are set in like southern United States, if that's where this game is set, particularly this like bayou setting. So I'm looking forward to that. It looks like there's a lot of DNA from like other games in it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So
yeah, my only thing is I can't tell because we saw combat if they're going for Souls like or Devil May Cry.
It kind of just looks like
kind of give us a hint.
Bog standard, get it? It kind of just looks like bog standard like adventure, action adventure gameplay combat. Nothing super groundbreaking, so to speak.
I feel like the art style is what's really elevating this game more than anything because the art style is kind of incredible.
I agree.
A game that is its art style is in a sense going away. I don't think that's the least accurate thing to say. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, got a pretty extensive gameplay reveal at the Xbox showcase. There was no release date in the showcase. GameStop did tweet that it would be available November 17th. So I think that's pretty... I feel like GameStop probably got that correct. Like, I'd be surprised if GameStop was given the wrong information. So I think that's probably pretty likely. Maybe they just weren't ready to reveal it quite yet. They wanted to save it for its own thing. Who knows? But this game certainly does look really nice. I think comparing it to like Silent Hill 2 is funny because I think Silent Hill 2 has a lot of rough edges, even in like the catered trailer, whereas this appears to be a lot less so, while still maintaining its silliness, which is nice, because I think Metal Gear is intrinsically silly. And he's doing things where you're like, why are they not reacting? It's like, oh, it's because he's wearing the alligator hat. That's why. And I think that kind of enhances the game. I'm excited to see more of this game, which we will be tomorrow. Well, day of release today. There will be some more gameplay released on the Xbox channel, so look forward to that. We also got a reveal of the boss, which is the primary character in that story. I don't like supporting Konami, but it looks kind of awesome. It looks like a really well done remake, and they have like David Hayter in it. It's not entirely clear if he came back or if they're just using old voice, but I would tend to say he probably came back because he's involved in some marketing push. So he probably came back to re-record some stuff.
Yeah, plus the old voice is probably crunchier. They probably need higher def audio anyway.
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but what I do know is this does look like a painfully competent remake.
Yeah, it looks good. I agree that it looks silly, but that is not a bad thing.
No,
especially because I feel like Metal Gear Solid 3 is not necessarily the silliest of all of them, but it's kind of silly. Like you're just a guy in a jungle. There's a song about eating snakes.
Yeah. It's a pretty silly series, so I'm glad that they're not losing that with the photorealism, because this is the best looking Metal Gear, bar none. Like MGS5 holds up pretty well, but this is another level.
Yeah.
So I hope it's as good as it looks. I think tomorrow's extended gameplay showcase is actually going to be really important.
Yes. We also got a trailer and gameplay reveal for Perfect Dark 2. Well, Perfect Dark, it's a sequel, but it's a remake.
I was going to say, it's probably just a reboot.
Whatever that means. Yeah, we got this trailer where we got to see some cool gameplay and a little bit of story about the main character, Joanna Dark, and the main antagonist, Daniel Carrington. Beyond that, I don't know. Very high-tech, futuristic, little bit, we were saying, a little bit cyberpunky, and like, oh, we're walking around the city. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. And the gunplay, to me, also looked quite cyberpunk-esque, which is not a bad thing. I think the gunplay in cyberpunk is quite good. But yeah. I mean, I have no attachment to this series whatsoever. I have not a care in the world, but I thought this looked cool. And if I could play it for free, I would. But I don't think I would pay for this.
I was going to say, it is on Game Pass, so.
You can play it day one on Game Pass. No, I'm just kidding. There was no release date.
Why are you kidding? You can.
Well, there was no release date, so.
Oh, so there is no day one to be had.
Yeah, but I mean, when day one comes to pass, you can play it
on Game
day
Pass.
One on Game Pass.
That's a good. They should say that when day one comes to pass, you can play it on Game Pass.
Right.
I just rhymed pass with pass, didn't I?
Well, I wasn't going to say anything.
I thought that this trailer was theoretically awesome, but this was one of the worst offenders of the like clearly scripted thing for me, especially like the aiming. The way that it whips to exactly where it needs to be looks very like cool, but not organic at all. I'm going to maintain some optimism, but I feel like I won't know until we see this next summer at the next Xbox show.
Yeah.
And also I really like, because I know it's getting a lot of cyberpunk comparisons, but honestly the thing that excites me the most is like the Mirror's Edge stuff. There's a lot of first person parkour stuff going on, and I think that's a really cool thing if it's well integrated. I'm glad it's back because this game seemed like it was probably dead in the water, but I'm happy that it's not dead in the water.
Yeah, it's cool to see like actual gameplay, whatever that means. Gameplay. unquote.
what looks like gameplay. Well, we also saw a game called Mixtape. This is from Annapurna Publishing. Just sort of a coming-of-age story of some sort. I don't know how else to describe this game. It's very music-heavy in its influences, but it looks like a coming-of-age story. Beautiful art style, very stylized. Characters are animated on twos, kind of the same thing we were talking about earlier with
South of
Midnight, where the characters are not animated as high as the frame rate of the game. I'm really excited for this game. It came out of nowhere. It's a really interesting reveal and has some really, really cool music in it. And it'll be coming out next year, available day one on Game Pass.
Yes. I will be playing this game.
You will?
I will.
I feel like this game's what I want Life is Strange to be. Does that make any sense?
Yes. I had to
don't know if
think
that
about
makes
Life
sense.
is Strange for a second. For some reason, I was like, what do you mean Life is Strange? In my head, I was like, are you talking about Stranger Things? And then I was like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Of course, Life is Strange.
Yes, I feel like this is what I envision that series as should being. That was
Yes.
good sentence, me.
Right. As should being. Yes.
Sorry. I'll stop.
No, it was funny. I liked it. Yeah, I feel like it's just the way that they incorporate the music is really, really cool, especially because the game is called Mixtape. I mean, come on. That's like, come on now. And this is coming in 2025, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's got like Iggy Pop and Smashing
Devo.
Pumpkins. Yeah, Devo. That was interesting.
I'm very
You know,
excited for
Mark
this.
Mothersbaugh, he did the music for Sims 1 and 2.
Wow.
He was in Devo.
Devo's from Akron, right?
That's right. They are.
I was at a Devo, what's the word? Not like a Devo memorial.
Tribute show?
Yeah, but I wasn't at it. I was at the venue directly next to it, watching people come out of the building with their Devo hats on. It was very funny.
Did you
It was like
whip
a very
good?
odd event. Huh?
Did you whip it good?
I didn't know what Devo was at that time in my life.
Oh.
So I didn't know I was supposed to whip it good.
Anyway. I'm not going to sing it.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about it. So, Fable. You know, Fable. Fable 4, I guess you would call it, but really it's just called Fable. We got another trailer. No Richard Ayoade this time, but we did get a little bit more story. First look at our hero. Had some of that classic Fable comedy. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. We got a 2025 release window. That was it. So, and a little bit of gameplay. So, gameplay.
I mean, yeah.
Gameplay.
It's the same deal. It's like the camera's behind her back.
It could
So,
be
yeah.
gameplay. I feel like the parts when she was talking to people, that was gameplay.
Right,
That
but
looked
that's not.
Right.
There's a combat part where she's fighting this big troll tree monster, and she like swings her arm in, and the camera pans in, and she reaches down its throat and pulls out like a big worm creature, and I'm like, how is that possible without being scripted? And it's okay to have like scripted events happen in combat, but if that's the only part the trailer's showing, I'm like, okay, what does it actually feel like to play? But this game is next year, so they could wait a while to actually show the gameplay. It looks, if it's as cool as it looks in this, it could be really, really, really good.
Have you ever played Fable?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I hated it.
Really? Which one did you play? 3?
1.
Oh, well. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, it aged a whole lot. So, but I might be playing. Well, I will be playing this one. It's for free. Well, it's included on Game Pass. It's day one game. Yeah.
Can you tell we've been recording for a while?
It's not even that long. It's only been an hour and 14. We've done like 3 to 4 hour recording sessions before.
You're right.
We can. Oh well, Kelly just collapsed.
Sorry.
I wasn't looking, so I literally envisioned that as your entire body just flopping onto the desk really fast.
Yeah, I flopped.
You know what else flopped? Not Atom Fall.
Oh.
It fell. It didn't flop.
Oh. You're confusing me.
Because Adam Fall.
Oh, I see. Oh, that was.
Adam Fall is a new survival action game. It's from the Sniper Elite studio. I guess it's kind of a surprise. I think the art style and like direction is really cool. It's coming out next year on everything. Well, it might just be Xbox. I'll find that out later. But like I really like the art style and stuff, but survival elements kind of make me leery. Because if a game has survival elements, I think that's not a bad thing. I think survival elements can enhance a lot of adventure action games. But if it's absolutely central, it could take a lot of my enjoyment away personally. Because I'm there for like this. It seems like a really interesting world. And a really cool, like it seems like it's kind of like a blending of almost like Fallout, maybe a little bit of Skyrim, maybe a little bit of Metro, kind of a lot of different things blended into one cool product. So I'm just hoping the survival stuff doesn't take the enjoyment out for me. But that's also selfish of me because I know for some people that is the enjoyment.
Yeah, I like survival stuff. I like that sort of more RPG-esque, like, oh, you need to do this to do this. But yeah, it looks pretty neat. I think that I'll definitely be playing this when it comes out.
Day one on Game Pass?
Day one on Game Pass. Hey, come on. Hey, come on. Our next trailer was a bit unexpected. It was a sequel, years later sequel to Life is Strange, game that we did just talk about. This is called Life is Strange: Double Exposure. It stars the main character from the original Life is Strange, the first games, Max Caulfield. It's been a long time since I played Life is Strange. We didn't get a whole lot here other than like, oh, you're a girl and you have a relationship with another girl and she's going to die unless you can use your psychic powers. Which is really the thesis of almost every Life is Strange game, really, except for the one where you play a boy. But yeah, I don't think we got. Oh yeah, we did. October 29th, 2024. So that is pretty soon, actually, especially for a game that was kind of just like nobody really knew about. So
yeah, and also that was confusing because Lost Records, their other game, I would have expected to hear more about that first.
Yeah.
Before another Life is Strange game, because I'm excited for that game. I don't really care about a new Life is Strange game. Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I did play the original Life is Strange when it came out, and I really, really liked it. Mind you, that was also like 9 years ago.
Yeah,
8 years ago.
Old.
It was a while ago. So there's a lot that I just don't remember, and I feel like maybe it really hasn't aged that well. But I don't know. I might give this the old college try. I think that it's a little bit weird. The characters all the female characters kind of sort of look like each other. They have very similar facial features, in my opinion, which is not a big deal, but like, just my opinion, just my thoughts there. I really do want to play the other one. What was it called?
Lost Records, right?
Lost Records. I do really want to play that one. Because it does seem very like Yellow Jacket-y, like, oh, maybe we have to eat each other. Spoiler alert for Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, it's late 2024 is the window for Lost Records, so
interesting.
It's really weird to me. It's a weird concept that they'll be releasing two at once.
Well, is Lost Records Don't Nod?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like Don't Nod is making this game. Is making Double Exposure. It looks like it is Deck 9.
So okay, so
I think it's a little bit different.
Square Enix owns the rights. Okay.
I think there's some drama, perhaps some drama.
What if they come out the same day?
That would be wild.
Oh, so Deck 9 made all of them except one, right?
And one was Don't Nod.
Correct. Okay, so it's the new. Okay, well then forgive me, I was wrong. It would be weird to show both, I guess, because they're from different studios that I thought were the same studio.
Well, Don't Nod and Deck 9 sound like this. They're like barely a few letters apart. So
they probably did that on purpose.
Yeah, that does seem kind of intentional.
Indiana Jones is a guy
Da 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 da.
Uh-huh.
Da, 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 da,
I truly do not care about Indiana Jones that much, but that theme song, never
da,
bad.
da, 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 da. That's that John Williams goodness, baby.
Yep. Well, we got the longest trailer of the show, and that was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Lots of cinematic, quite a bit of gameplay. Actually, it's mostly cinematic, which to me is exciting because I'm like, that's the part that looks cool to me. I don't like that the game is first person. I know I've made that known before, but I do think it looks kind of good. I think the biggest surprise for me is there is no release date attached to it. It's still 2024, which, again, seems a little strange because I would have assumed October as a big pre-holiday push to sell Xboxes. Maybe it still is. Maybe they just haven't said so yet. But did you have... I mean, it's like hard to talk about because I'm like, I don't really necessarily have an opinion on this game.
It seemed like Indiana Jones, but I thought the first-person gameplay looked really not good. I think it looked not polished. I think it looked clunky. I think I very much agree with your assessment that this game would be so much more exciting if it was all third-person. I don't know. But it's interesting because, like, the cutscenes with Indiana Jones a la Harrison Ford look really good. That looks like Harrison Ford. That really looks like Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But why waste all that just to only be able to see him a couple times? Like, why not be able to see him all the time? You know, I don't know. I don't
feels
really
like
get
a waste to me.
It does. And like I said, the first person, I think the tone is right. Like the scene, like the cutscene that we saw where they're like on the ship, that was very Indiana Jones. Like I was saying, but yeah, the first person gameplay it just looks not. It doesn't look good to me.
Feels like a waste of an opportunity because the whole thing about Indiana Jones is that the character is the biggest appeal, and we can't see him most of the time.
Yeah.
Except when you're climbing ladders.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Maybe the gameplay will look better later down the line. I don't really know.
We'll be getting an extended gameplay look later this week.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Keep an eye on that if you're interested. There's a lot of extended gameplay looks coming over the next week or so.
Yes. We also got a trailer for Avowed from Obsidian. Sort of a story trailer, I guess. I still am trying to pick up what the story is. I think this game looks cool. I'll probably play it. I like Obsidian a lot, but I like Obsidian for the story and the characters, and I'm not invested yet. So I wish that we could see just like a little bit more of this game and like, oh, who's the main character? Oh, what's the point of what they're doing, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, I'm like tentatively excited for this game because I like Obsidian and I really want to support Obsidian. But yeah, this game is still coming in 2024 according to Bethesda and Obsidian.
Well, that'd be weird because Bethesda did not make this game. Obsidian's owned by Microsoft, not Bethesda.
Well, okay. You're right. I'm sorry. Obsidian. According to Obsidian,
you got that
still
New
coming
Vegas
in
brain.
I do. I'm like, oh yeah. So Obsidian under Bethesda under Microsoft.
Nope, just Obsidian under Microsoft.
That's right. So
they're in separate bedrooms from Bethesda.
That's right. So coming 2024, as far as we know. Don't know when. Just 2024.
Well, they said November on a website, and then they quickly pulled it. So I think maybe it was supposed to be November, and now they're like, uh-oh, maybe it's not. But it looks pretty good. I think the story trailer looks way better than the last time we saw it, and they also did like a little bit of an extended showcase during that Xbox podcast that's going to be showing a bunch of games this week. And it does look a lot better than it did that last time. I think that last time was misguided. I think they shouldn't have shown it there. It looked bad, and I don't want that to be like my only impression of the game, but that was what they gave me. I'm way more excited now than I was before, and I do hope it does hit that maybe November deadline, if that was real.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just gotta maintain optimism, you know?
I agree. I just want to see more of the story. That's all. I just want to see more of like what's the purpose of any of this.
Well, I guess I would suggest watching that 30-minute thing, but it doesn't actually have a lot of story. It has like some character interactions that are very informative of what the game will look like moment to moment, but the overarching story, no idea. We closed out the Xbox showcase with an announcement of a new Gears of War game, Gears of War E-Day. This is a prequel set before the story of Gears of War, starring Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago. This is just a cinematic reveal. No release window, no release date. Play it day one on Game Pass, whenever day one happens. I'm sure for Gears of War's fans, this is kind of exciting, but for me, that series kind of, I don't care. Like, I feel like it's one of those series. It was so rooted in its like origin time. It seems like a difficult game to bring up to modern sensibilities. Like, it's such an Xbox 360 game, you know. Like, that series feels so Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And I'm like, games have evolved so much since then. I don't know exactly what they'll do.
Yeah.
So, and also, having no window, I don't think games should be revealed this far in advance, because this, realistically to me, if they're not saying 2025, then it's 2026. And if it's 2026, it's probably late 2026. That's 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It's too early.
I don't think this was a great closer, but I'm also in the same boat as you. I'm not really a Gears of War person. So I don't know. I'm not like jumping up and down for joy. I wish that they had closed on something that would be a little bit more exciting for me, but that's just me. And you're right. It's like, if you're not even going to give us 2025, like, why are you showing this?
It's too early.
It's way too early. Way too early.
Well, Kelly, I just wanted to give the people a little bit of an idea of what's to come. The next week is going to be busy for video game news. I think that the death of E3 means that things are kind of decentralized, and a lot of games actually have plans to reveal more in the coming week on their own terms. So some games, such as the Lollipop Chainsaw remake, Visions of Mana, Shovel Knight, we don't know exactly what Shovel Knight entails, but probably also that Mina the Hollower game, Metal Gear Solid 3, and Dragon Age are all going to be getting more information this coming week, including for Visions of Mana and Lollipop Chainsaw release dates confirmed that they'll talk about them. So, we'll have a lot to talk about next week. And then if I had to guess, the following week we'll probably have a direct. I miss what E3 was. I think it probably makes more sense to spread things out across June like this. But it does mean on the days where they're like, this is the day to be excited, when they inevitably kind of miss, it hurts a little bit,
Yeah. It does lack the sort of like in-person hype excitement that E3 generated. I don't know. I follow a lot of like games journalists and influencers and stuff, and I don't know a single one of them that went to any of this in person. And even if they did, they didn't really like talk about it or take videos there. They just said, I played this game. So yeah, I agree. I think it's just everything is so sort of piecemeal now that we have to like, okay, you have to watch this one, and then you have to watch this one, and then you have to watch this one a week later to get like the full robust picture of all the games. Whereas with E3, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I don't know. It is what it is. I don't think we're ever going back to one big game show, but
no,
it's just something that we have to learn how to adjust to.
I think for me, and I don't want to end it on a sad note, but when E3 used to wrap up, I used to be like so hype about video games in general that all I wanted to do for like, because E3 was essentially like a 4-ish day event in the summer, where it was like you guaranteed to have multiple shows. You knew exactly when everything was coming and what was going to be shown. Well, not what was going to be shown, but like that there will be things shown, I should say. And then in the time between those shows, I was just like riding the high of how cool it was to have all these things. And I was so excited by all the announcements that all I wanted to do was play games. And then at the end of this one, I was just like, I don't really care. I obviously I play games. I love games. We make this podcast. Of course I love video games. But I usually feel energized by E3 or what E3 was to play more. I'm like, this is when I want to play games. Whereas this time, I haven't really played games since the Jeffies. I haven't wanted to, like, I was playing a ton of Paper Mario before that, but like, none of these events made me want to play more. Literally the only thing that I was inspired to do, and this is stupid and silly and a little bit embarrassing even, after the Devolver show, which was a weird, like, true crime parody, I started watching Mindhunter on Netflix because I'm like, I want more of that. And that's what I was inspired to do. Not play video
Mindhunter
games.
is also so good.
It's really good so far.
Good.
But also, like, that's not what I should be wanting to do. Am I what?
Are you in season 1?
Yeah. I mean, I know I shouldn't be watching it because I know it doesn't end.
It's all right. I think it's a nice, like, it's not about the destination, really. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
And the incredible casting team. Yeah. Just insane work that they did on that show.
But before we close out, I just want to go ahead and let everybody know that I played a game this week. Hellblade 2, new release from Xbox Game Studios. I'll be brief. I was planning on finishing this game because it's only like 5 to 6 hours. I couldn't do it. I really, really did not like this game, like, at all. I think it was kind of directionless. I think the fact that it has really good graphics does not do anything for me. To attain those graphics at a decent performance, it has a 21:9 aspect ratio, which is such a waste of television space, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't feel like it adds anything cinematically. It just feels like they cut out a giant chunk of my TV. The combat is not good. It is bad. The combat is bad. I'm just going to be blunt. It is not good, and it is bad. It is so stilted, and, like, there is nothing expressive about it. There is only one correct option at all times. And, like, I faced, the moment I decided I was going to quit, there was a gauntlet of 9 consecutive enemies. And it was enemy type 1, enemy type 2, enemy type 3. And then it cycled back to enemy type 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 1, and then 2, and then 3. They used the same character models every time they cycled them back. So it wasn't even like it felt like there were different people. It was the exact same thing. The only thing about it that I'm like, oh, this is really good, is the audio design. And if you play with headphones, it's really cool. But, like, man, I just got nothing out of it. And, like, the story is, like, kind of nothing. I mean, I only played like 2 hours, so I still had, about 50% of the game, 60% of the game. But I just felt nothing for any of the characters. I felt nothing about what was happening. I found it boring because it's so incredibly, like, this is cinematic. There were times where she's, like, crawling across the ground and she just stopped. And I'm like, why'd she stop? And it was like, oh, because you're not holding forward. And I'm like, this is a cutscene. Why do I have to hold the controller? Like, she's literally just crawling forward, and I'm like, all I'm doing is holding forward. This is not engaging gameplay. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with, like, cutscene-heavy video games. I think they can be really special. They can be really good. But games that are like, no, we're going to integrate those two things, but then it's just a cutscene where you hold a direction, that's not integration. That's just, like, me holding its hand. I don't know. I was really disappointed with this game, and I think Team Ninja's they're capable of such incredible stuff, and it's just funny because, like, DMC, say what you will about DMC, the Western Devil May Cry reboot, it has good combat. You know, it has some really cool ideas, and it has some really interesting takes. They can make good combat. Like, the Team Ninja knows what they're doing. So it's just disappointing to see something so stilted and so boring, and, like, the puzzles are not puzzles. It's just walking around to line objects up to make shapes. I'm like, that's so boring. So it might be your cup of tea, but it is incredibly specific. Like, it is a very specific cup of tea, and if you're not loving every sip, you're gonna hate every sip.
It's Earl Grey with 2 squirts of honey and, like, a half inch of oat milk.
Yeah, and, like, just a dash of manure.
Oh.
The combat's just bad. The combat is just simply bad. There's nothing to it. So that one, even if somebody was like, I like the combat, I'm like, how about you play some games that have it then? Because this is not combat. It is a quick time event that's not even fun. Because it's like quick time events are fun because you play new animations every time. It does crazy things. But it's like there was a boss fight and we just did the exact same animations 7 times in a row. And I'm like, it was literally slash, slash, block, slash, 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 block, slash. And then 5 more times. And it played the same really long animation at the end of that block slash every time. And I was like, am I doing this wrong? No, I was not. It was just boring. Sorry. I didn't mean to get so aggressive with it. I do think that there's a lot of value to it. But I think I played the first game in its entirety. And I didn't like love it. But I think knowing that it was like independently made it much more interesting. Because I'm like, oh, the fact that they accomplished this as an independent studio is really impressive. Good for them. But then Microsoft bought it. It's a AAA game now. I expect more from the game. And it is just the exact same quality level, subtracting all the things that made it particularly interesting in 2017. It's been 7 years. There's nothing about this game that makes me think this deserved 7 years of development.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of good. The voice acting's really good. The lead character, I don't know her name, but she's incredible. There's a lot of good, and I don't want to like lessen what the team did, but I just the vision I cannot get behind. So, but it's on Game Pass. So if you want to try it, play it day one. On Game Pass.
Play day one on Game Pass. Play game one on Game Pass.
I know
Play
we're really
one
far
on
in.
Game
Kelly, did you play anything that was interesting?
I play a game. No.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. I have been playing The Sims.
No, that's okay.
Again.
It's just that. Do you play anything? No.
No. I've been playing The Sims again, if anyone cares. You know, I just don't really play new things. I'm not good at playing new things. All I do is play the same things over and over again.
You know what you're going to be really good at playing? The answer's Dragon Age. Why are you hesitating?
I'm not. I was wiggling my eyebrows.
They can't see that.
I was doing it for you.
I couldn't see it because I was typing something.
Oh.
And I can't see it now. Are you doing something? I'm typing something.
No, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done wiggling my eyebrows.
That's probably for the best. We're an hour and 40 minutes in. People are probably like, eyebrow wiggling now at this hour? It's midnight.
Oh.
Also, I think this is going to come out Monday, just so you know. So all that stuff we said about tomorrow. Yeah.
What do you mean Monday? Today is Monday.
Yeah. This is coming out tonight.
Oh, well. Cool.
Well.
Thanks for just like ripping the rug out from under me.
No, I just decided that like we're talking too much about hypothetical stuff on Tuesday, so it's okay. It's just so that when people, because our listeners, the ones who get right in, tend to listen right at the start of Tuesday, and I just want to assure it's there for them. So, but this is probably going to come out at like 9 p.m. on Monday, so it's not going to be a problem.
Right.
I probably should have told you though before we both said all that stuff about like, oh, tomorrow, which is now Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It's fine. Well, we did it. Summer game event, and it's still happening. So we will
2 more weeks of this.
Yes, we will see you next week with more news. I might be talking about Dragon Age for a long time, so I hope you're prepared for that. Thank you, as always, so much for taking the time to listen to us today. I hope you have a really awesome day, week, month, and year. Bye.